It was a quiet Tuesday evening in a small, cozy diner on the outskirts of Los Angeles. The diner, named Maggie's Place, was a modest establishment with checkered floors, red vinyl booths, and a jukebox that played soft tunes from the 80s. It wasn't the kind of place you'd expect to find a Hollywood superstar, but life has a way of surprising you. Emily, a 24-year-old waitress, had been working at Maggie's Place for 3 years. She was known for her warm smile, her patience with even the most difficult customers, and her ability to remember everyone's favorite orders. She loved her job, even though it wasn't glamorous. To her, the diner was a place where people came not just for food, but for comfort, and Emily was more than happy to provide that. That evening, the diner was unusually quiet. Only a few customers were scattered around the room. An elderly couple sharing a slice of pie, a truck driver sipping coffee, and a man sitting alone in a corner booth. Emily hadn't paid much attention to the man at first. He wore a simple black hoodie, his face partially hidden under a baseball cap. He had been quietly reading a book and sipping tea for the past hour. When Emily approached his table to refill his tea, she noticed something familiar about him. His calm demeanor, the way he carried himself. It reminded her of someone, but she couldn't quite place it. She smiled warmly and asked, "Can I get you anything else, sir?" The man looked up, and Emily froze. It was Keanu Reeves. Her heart skipped a beat. She had seen his movies, admired his work, and heard countless stories about his kindness. But seeing him in person, in her little diner, was surreal. She tried to keep her composure, but her hands trembled slightly as she poured the tea. "Thank you," Keanu said with a gentle smile. His voice was calm and reassuring, just like it was in the movies. "You've been very kind." Emily nodded, still in shock. "It's my pleasure. Let me know if you need anything else." As she walked back to the counter, Emily couldn't help but glance over at Keanu's table. He seemed so normal. No entourage, no fuss. Just a man enjoying his tea and book. She wondered why he was here, in this little diner, but she didn't want to intrude. Instead, she focused on her work, making sure every customer felt as welcome as possible. A few hours later, the diner was nearly empty. Keanu was still sitting in his booth, now writing in a small notebook. Emily was wiping down the counter when she noticed a young woman walk in. The woman looked tired and disheveled, her clothes worn and her eyes filled with worry. She sat at a table near the door and stared at the menu, her hands shaking slightly. Emily approached her with a kind smile. "Hi there, welcome to Maggie's Place. Can I get you something to eat?" The woman hesitated, then whispered, I don't have much money. Do you have anything cheap?" Emily's heart ached. She knew what it was like to struggle. Without a second thought, she said, "Don't worry about it. How about a hot meal on the house? We've got a special today." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "Are you sure? I don't want to be a bother." "Of course," Emily said firmly. "You're not a bother at all. Let me get you something warm." She hurried to the kitchen and asked the cook to prepare a hearty meal, a burger, fries, and a slice of pie. When she brought the food to the woman's table, the gratitude in her eyes was overwhelming. "Thank you," the woman said, her voice breaking. "You have no idea how much this means to me." Emily smiled. "Everyone deserves a good meal. Enjoy." As she walked back to the counter, she noticed Keanu watching her. He had a thoughtful expression on his face, but he didn't say anything. Emily felt a little self-conscious, but brushed it off. She was just doing her job, after all. The next day, Emily arrived at the diner as usual. She was surprised to see a crowd gathered outside. Had something happened? She pushed through the crowd and stepped inside, only to find the diner completely transformed. The tables were filled with flowers, the jukebox was playing cheerful music, and a banner hung across the room that read, "Thank you, Emily, for your kindness." Emily stood frozen, her mouth open in shock. What is this?" she stammered. That's when Keanu Reeves stepped out from the kitchen, holding a bouquet of flowers. The entire diner erupted in applause. "Emily," Keanu said, his voice warm and sincere, "last night, I witnessed an act of kindness that reminded me why the world is still a beautiful place. You didn't hesitate to help someone in need, and that's something truly special." Emily felt tears welling up in her eyes. I was just doing my job," she said softly. Keanu shook his head. "No, you were doing something much bigger than that. You showed compassion, and that's a gift not everyone has. I wanted to thank you, and to give you a little something to show my appreciation." He handed her an envelope. With trembling hands, Emily opened it. Inside was a check for $50,000 and a note that read, "For your kindness and your future. Keep shining," Emily gasped. I can't accept this," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Keanu smiled. "You can, and you will. Use it to follow your dreams, whatever they may be. The world needs more people like you." The diner erupted in cheers again, and Emily felt a wave of emotions she couldn't quite describe. Gratitude, disbelief, joy. It was all too much. She hugged Keanu tightly, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you so much." In the weeks that followed, Emily used the money to go back to school and pursue her dream of becoming a social worker. She never forgot the lesson Keanu had taught her. That kindness, no matter how small, can change lives. And as for Keanu, he continued to visit Maggie's place whenever he was in town. He and Emily became friends, and their story spread far and wide, inspiring countless others to pay it forward. Because sometimes, all it takes is one act of kindness to make the world a better place.